I'm going to show you how to make this cheap and easy do-it-yourself compost bin for under $40. Keep watching. Of course, you're going to need a garbage can. I found this one for $15. You're going to need some hinges. This is the 1 to 1.5 inch size. This is what they look like. They come with screws already in the pack. You're also going to need a clasp. This is a locking kind. This is a 3 1/4 inch size. It also comes with its own screws. Some heavy duty tape. This is Gorilla Tape. A pen knife, utility knife, Xacto knife, whatever you want to call it. Some wood planks. I got these from Michael's for $1.99. I used a power drill, but for the holes you could use an Xacto knife or a hand drill, and for the screws, a screwdriver. I'm also going to use some red wiggler worms to help start the process, and also found some cheap and organic compost maker. Gonna need like a little table for use as a workstation. Make sure you have some cold water, because you're gonna get hot and it's gonna get sweaty. Oh, and make sure to spend a whole bunch of money getting your nails done the day before, so you can mess them up in the process. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is cut my hole. I'm not gonna be very precise and measure it or anything, so I'm just gonna drill 4 holes in the corners of how big I want my hole to be. And this pen knife just kept getting on my nerves. It kept coming loose, so I had to keep tightening it up. There's my water. I told you I was gonna get hot. I ain't gonna tell you if I got sweaty or not, because that's my business. Alright, so after I cut it out, I'm just gonna trim it up around the edges a little bit, line it up. See, I'm putting my 2 fingers right there, so I'll know how much space I need. And I'm gonna take my Gorilla Tape and just cover up the edges so there won't be any rough, sharp edges. When I go to try to open it, I don't want to cut myself. And then I'm going to put it back on there and measure it again. And if there's not enough space right there, then I'll just cut a little bit more. Then I'll take my tape and tape on the actual bin itself as well. So I'm just going to measure it one last time and make sure it's the way I want it. Okay, now I'm going to take my hinges and make sure the top is flush with the top of the opening, and I'm going to tape it on there. If you choose to do it this way, make sure the tape is between the holes and not covering up the holes. I have it where it can open up freely. I'm going to put some extra pieces of tape on there to hold it steady, and do the same for the other side. Also going to put some tape on the top so that I can tape it to the actual bin. And again, make sure to keep the tape between the holes. Just gonna put some extra tape up there for good measure. Don't want the lid to go anywhere while I'm trying to drill these holes, because I need them in the precise spot. Make sure it opens and closes fine. Drill your holes on the bin itself. Put the little screws in there that came with it. And then screw it in. So this is where the wood planks come into play. Make sure the bottom of the wood is flush with the top part of the bin, and then just screw the screws into the bin as well as the wood. That way the screws and the hinges don't go anywhere when you open and close them over and over again. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape the lid to the actual bin so that I can make the holes on the bottom part of the hinges. This time I'm not going to use a drill because it's too flimsy, so I'm just going to take my Xacto knife and make the holes that way. And go ahead and put my screws in and screw them in. Now I'm going to take my clasp and line up the fold of the clasp with the bottom of the lid. Make sure that's lined up flush. It's a bright and early new day, so I'm going to go ahead and take my knife and put my holes in. Make sure they're in the right spot. Put my screws in and screw them on in. I'm not going to use a wood plank for this because the screws are a little longer than the other ones. So I'm not really too much concerned about the hinge going anywhere. I keep saying hinge, this is a clasp. And now for the bottom part of the clasp, I'm going to line it up, make sure it's not too low or not too high. Make sure it's going to be right in the middle. Take my knife, go ahead and mark out one side, put my screw in, make sure it's in the right spot. Go ahead and drill it in, or screw it in, whatever. Take my other screw, do the same thing. I'm going to keep pulling that top part down and make sure it's in the right spot. And then just do the same thing for the other side. Now, see that gap right there? I don't like that, so I'm going to take some more tape and just cover it up. Now, part of my tape covered up my actual lid, so I'm just going to take my knife and just loosen that up so that I can open it, like so. So now I'm going to tape on the lid. I'm just going to tape on both sides first and make sure that the tape goes underneath the handle, all the way up under it, so that it doesn't have anywhere to go at all. Then I'm just going to tape on to the sides. Do the same on the other side. Snip, snip. Turn it around and put on another layer. So when I want to turn it, I just kick it over and let it roll. Here's the ooey gooey nastiness on the inside working its way into rich, healthy compost. Okay, so since this was my first time making a compost bin and I wasn't really following a pattern, I was just going off of something I made up in my head and just going along with it. There are two things that I would have done differently that I learned through trial and error, and they both concern the door. For one, I would have actually measured the door space instead of just free forming it. Even though it came out okay in the end, I would have actually preferred an actual precise measurement. Also, I would have screwed on the hinges for the door first, as opposed to screwing the hinges on for the actual bin itself first, because it was kind of hard keeping that door in place while I was trying to drill those holes. But overall, it's fully functional. It does what it's supposed to do. I would definitely make another one now that I learned what I would do differently. Purr.